Blessed are those who suffer persecution for justice' sake. The kingdom of heaven is theirs.
Alleluia. Alleluia. Alleluia.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Herod himself has sent men who arrested John, bound him, and put him in prison on account of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because he had married her. For John had been telling Herod, "It is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife." Herodias had a grudge against John and wanted to kill him. But she could not, for Herod feared John. Knowing that John was a righteous and holy man, and he protected him. When Herod heard John, he was always greatly perplexed, and yet he liked to listen to him. But an opportunity came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his courtiers and officers, and for the leaders of Galilee. When the daughter of Herodias came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, "Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you." And he solemnly swore to her, "Ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it. Whatever you ask me, I will give you, even half of my kingdom." She went out and asked her mother, "What should I ask for?" She replied, "The head of John the Baptist." Immediately, the girl rushed back to the king and requested, "I want you to give me here at once the head of John the Baptist on a platter." The king was deeply grieved, yet out of regard for his own oath and for the guests, he did not want to refuse her. The king immediately sent a soldier of the guard with orders to bring John's head. The soldier went and beheaded John in the prison, brought his head on a platter, and gave it to the girl. Then the girl gave it to her mother. When his disciples heard about it, they came and took John's body and laid it in a tomb. The Gospel of the Lord. Every time we read Mark chapter 6, when we read this story about the beheading of John the Baptist, oftentimes we confuse this Herod with the Herod that was king when Jesus was born. There are two different Herods. The Herod that killed the innocent children when Jesus was born was called Herod the Great. He was the father of this Herod, who is called Herod Antipas. Herod the Great, who was king when Jesus was born, ruled over the whole of Palestine, the whole area, the whole country. But this Herod, by the time this Herod came, Rome already had conquered Israel. And so he was appointed only as governor of the province of Galilee, while Pilate, another Roman official, was appointed to be governor in another province called Judea. Every time we read this passage of scripture, sometimes we have the compassion of wanting to exonerate Herod. And they say, oh, what will he have done? He asked the girl to ask for anything. How will he have known that the girl is going to ask for the head of John the Baptist? And people have argued that it took Herod by surprise. But I want to share with us a popular theory in Bible study, which classified the whole thing as a conspiracy. There are a group of Bible scholars who said that it was a plot. It was planned. That we should not blame the little girl. That Herodias and Herod already planned how they were going to get rid of John the Baptist. And so this school of thought said, Herod already arrested John the Baptist. Herod already imprisoned John the Baptist. He was in prison already. So they were only waiting for an opportunity. If he killed him, tongues will wag and say, oh yeah, he's a killer. And so he made it public so that he could be exonerated, that he already swore to the girl. And as king, he didn't want to go back on his word. And he made it look like there was nothing he could do except to honor his word, because he was a ruler. But in philosophical ethics, the conspiracy was about what is called public propriety. Now, public propriety is the standard of conduct that is expected of everybody, especially people who hold public office. So the life that Herod Antipas and Herodias were living was not only sinful, but it was also against public decency. And that was the courage that John the Baptist had to say, look, this is public propriety. The text says, John told the king, he told Herod the ruler, it is not lawful for you to take your brother's wife. He says, it is not lawful. And Herod knew it. it is not lawful. You know, we say that John the Baptist was the first to die for Christ. He was the first to die for Jesus Christ. He went ahead. Our opening prayer today says God planned it that he will go ahead by birth and in death. He died in the hands of a Roman official in Galilee. Jesus will die in the hands of Pilate, another Roman official. But the way John died, which we call conspiracy theory, how Herod and his girlfriend conspired to have him killed, he's left a guilty conscience up till today. When this Herod in history, when people talk about him, this story comes up the most. He did other things, you know, if you really want to interest yourself about tyranny, bad ruler, a bad family, you read about the Herod family. That family was possessed. That family was cursed. Everything about that family was violence against even each other. So what he did to John the Baptist was considered small compared to what he did to his own children and his own wife before he took Herodias. But that is not content of scripture. That's content of just secular literature. But the reason why the church asked us to celebrate John the Baptist, because in the Roman calendar, John the Baptist had similar feasts like Jesus has. You know, we celebrate his birthday, nativity. No other saints have that. Only 3 people have that in the church's liturgy. The Blessed Virgin Mary, we celebrate her birthday. We celebrate her Assumption. We celebrate the birthday of Jesus. We celebrate Good Friday, the day he died. We celebrate his ascension. John the Baptist also has 3 special feast days. We celebrate, you know, John the Baptist, his birthday. And today, the church says we should celebrate his passion. This feast used to be called the Beheading of John the Baptist. But when the Roman calendar was revised and we got the new Roman Missal, the feast was changed to the Passion of John the Baptist, meaning that his suffering started when he was arrested, when Herod arrested him, and Herod imprisoned him. In church history, the last verse says, when his disciples heard that he had been beheaded, they came and got his body and laid it in a tomb. So in Bible study, they say, where is that head? The head of John the Baptist. He was buried without his head. Where did Herodias take that head to? Again, scholars, Bible studies, traced the head of John the Baptist to the present-day Syria. There is a place there who claims to have. Now we have to understand that Herod was not a Jew. Herod, when the Seleucids, anyway, this is just history, when they conquered Israel, they were ruling the whole of Syria, Lebanon, up till Israel, until Pompey, the Roman general, conquered them. But they were still there. And so they gave them a part, just one part of the kingdom to rule. So the theory says she took the body, the head, to her country. Because she's not really from Galilee. She's not from Bethlehem or Nazareth or Capernaum or any of the towns there. They were not from there. And so there is a place in Syria that claims to have the head of John the Baptist. But what the church is saying, the theology of is two things. Sin is sin. When something is sinful, it is sinful. You can call it political correctness, you can call it by any other name, but a sin is a sin. And it becomes more heinous if it violates public decency. And so the church says John the Baptist was a prophet. A prophet is not somebody who sees the future. That's a seer. A prophet is somebody who can confront sin publicly. And all the prophets, that's why John the Baptist is called the last prophet. He is the last prophet of the Old Testament and the first prophet of the New Testament. So he confronted authority. He was fearless. Jesus will do the same. And Jesus died because he confronted the powers. And there will be times when we too will suffer for our faith. Be it at the coffee roll, be it in a public place, be it in our families. There will be time when we also will suffer. But we are all called to be prophetic. When when all of us were baptized as prophets. Like, be a prophet, like Jesus is a prophet. Be a priest, like Jesus is a priest. Be a shepherd, like Jesus is a shepherd. So at different times, we are called upon to show what is called our munus, that function of our baptism. And so John baptized people. He baptized Jesus. So he lived his prophetic function and he said to the king, it is not right. What you're doing is wrong. And the guy arrested him, put him in jail, and himself and his wife, Herodias, conspired to kill him. Today, Jesus, when he was talking about John the Baptist, he says that John the Baptist is in the kingdom. And what he said, of all the people there, he is the least of the people there. One day we will do the theology and talk about that. But the simple reason is just simply because John the Baptist did not experience the death. He could not see that. he was not given that opportunity to see the salvation that comes from the cross. But he still made heaven.